Well, hello everyone. We are here at the stove and we are browning our steak for our steak potato tacos. This is a sirloin meat that I've chopped up as you saw in the previous video, and I took out the gristle and the fat and so forth, and to make it more healthier and obviously easier to bite down on so it's not as tough. Another thing too is you want to make sure your meat is cooked all the way through. Make sure both sides are brown and make sure the liquid is running clear and not red. I do not recommend eating any kind of raw or undercooked meat for the case of any kind of food poisoning. The #1 case of food poisoning is actually undercooked chicken with salmonella, and a lot of places have had trouble with that. So just be really careful about your meat and so forth when you go out, especially when you cook it at home. And we're just going to turn this as we go and make sure all the meat is thoroughly cooked. And people kind of wonder, well, Carrie, you know, you spent time in the grocery business, nursing, all this other stuff. How did you have time for it? Well, I started working in the grocery business when I was pretty young. And I was a meat cutter for about 8 or 9 years. And then I went over to a donut shop and so forth. And then I became a baker. And, you know, basically the rest is history. So I'm not going to give you a life story and bore the heck out of you. Nothing like that. But just the skills I've learned along the way, I like to share with people, a lot of tips and so forth that you wouldn't necessarily think of as you're cooking for your friends or family. Another tip I want to share with you too is when you cut tomatoes, among other vegetables, cut your tomatoes first because they are high in acid. Some teenagers can get more acne because of the acid in tomatoes, and it can actually have some kind of reaction to the skin. Another reason of tomatoes with acid is that it can actually dull your knife, so make sure you're using a pretty sharp knife. Another tip too is when you have onions, store onions away from bread, cookies, anything like that, and store it in a Ziploc bag, airtight in the refrigerator, and this avoids any kind of odors getting into other food. As well as with tortillas, you want to store this away from other foods because they're going to absorb any flavor and so forth. So again, keep those in a Ziploc bag. And working in the grocery business as long as I did learn a couple of tips along the way. And to be really cost effective and provide for your family, yourself, or whoever you happen to be cooking for, a good tip is when you grocery shop, plan for 5 dinners. And make sure you buy your protein first because that's going to be your most expensive food. That's going to include chicken, beef, pork, seafood. And kind of alternate between each protein so you're not having the same thing every night. And that will kind of give you more variety. And for price-wise, check your local meat markets and your local farmers markets for your meats, your fruits, your vegetables. Because it's really going to help your food budget. And also, you're going to be helping a small business along the way who's, you know, working just as hard as we are to support their children, or you know, for any other reason. So, I'd highly support a small business before I support any kind of grocery store or big chain. And you know, they'll appreciate your business and treat you well. And of course, you'll go back when you know you're respected as a good customer. All right, so this meat's almost already cooked. We're going to take a small break. And we're going to go ahead and put our steak potato tacos together. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.